Well, we're here at a very windy port of Dover, and it's interesting because we've got a very large queue of cars coming in. This is the passport control area here at Dover, and if you look around you can see that the port is actually very quiet. There are not that many cars queuing up, or lorries or coaches. It just looks like an ordinary day, but if you notice there's traffic queuing up down Jubilee Way here, and this long line of cars. You can see the number of cars coming out the other end. Now, this is going to be a slightly political video because of the nature of what we're talking about. We're talking about the border here, so don't get offended. I'm going to be as neutral as possible. And one thing to put into context is in 6 years ago to the day, I was in this very spot filming exactly the same thing, which was a very large queue of cars. Same time of year. This is the sort of busiest day of the year for the port, I believe, and it was absolutely awful with cars everywhere. And I'll actually cut in a bit of that video now, and you'll see how similar it is. So, what's happened this year? Did we not learn from 6 years ago? Well, 6 years ago, there were very few French border guards. Now we have an arrangement with France that at certain ports we have opposed borders. So we have over there in Calais, we have UK border officials, and down here we have French border guards. And that's just an arrangement. It's independent of Brexit or anything like that. So once you get past this point, like this at White Ford here, you're essentially, for all intents and purposes, actually in France. Now, 6 years ago, there was a shortage of people, a shortage of French people. And I believe that the same is sort of true at the moment. There is actually a shortage of French border guards. But as of this year, we now have Brexit. And Brexit essentially means that every time a car goes through this area, its passport has to be stamped. It actually physically has to be stamped. And they have to do a few more checks than before. Now, we always used to have to show a passport or an ID card. But generally what would happen is that the French officials were quite lenient, and they would just sort of see the passports, have a quick look in, and generally just wave you straight through. In fact, I've been through here and they've barely looked up. They've just seen it's a British car, one person in it, wave the passport vaguely in their direction, they'll let you through. But because we are now outside the EU, this is a hard border with the EU, with the Schengen area, which it always was a border with the Schengen area. But there's no freedom of movement anymore. Every person has to be checked and their passport has to be stamped. So Brexit is definitely slowing things down. I mean, literally slowing things down, because obviously it takes longer to actually physically stamp the passport. Also, I have read a report from 2 years ago when they were talking about adding more actual booths here. You can see this is actually a very small area here. So that's another thing. 2 years ago, they wanted to spend some money to put some more booths in. That got declined. So I believe they've added a couple very recently. So it's really a combination of factors. And Brexit is probably the easiest one to blame. We didn't have to have this ridiculously hard border with the EU, but due to the arrangement that we've chosen, passports are having to be stamped. So this is just what the reality is going to be from now on. But things are exceptionally bad, and I'm going to go up the road now and have a look at the queues into the port, which I don't think are really going to get much better. I mean, obviously the solution in the future is to make this area much bigger and convince the French to put on more staff. But as things stand, it's, as you can see, pretty bad. This is Cheriton Eurotunnel, and we're in a very windy place again, so apologies for that. But over here is the end of the M20 where you come off to go on the Channel Tunnel if you're a car, lorry, motorbike, etc. Lots of cars queuing up there. Fairly free moving traffic going onto the trains, which transport you under the sea. And there's a lorry train just leaving to go into the tunnel there. But anyway, big queue of traffic here on the M20, and things looking better than they were yesterday, but still extremely busy. Still the same arrangement supply of the displaced boarders, and that does lead to long queues on this side to enter France and the Schengen area. So this is the A20 near Dover, and up here we've got the end of a queue of lorries, probably a mile or so of lorries, and to be honest, that's not that bad. So I think things are sort of evening out a bit. It's now Saturday late afternoon, and I think things will be busy again tomorrow and then a bit quieter. A lot of cars, only one or two cars coming, so I think most people have got the message, and I don't know, queue doesn't seem to be as bad, so that's the situation towards Dover. I think the situation towards the Eurotunnel at Folkestone is pretty bad. I've just spoken to someone who couldn't get from Canterbury to Folkestone due to people queuing. So I think maybe people are using the Eurotunnel rather than the ferry, and so there are more cars queuing that way. I did try to go and have a look, but I couldn't get anywhere close without getting stuck in the jam myself. So that's the situation on the 23rd of July 2022. So hopefully, moving on from here, we'll have some more border booths at Dover and Cheriton, and some more French staff, because this isn't just a simplistic issue of Brexit or the French being useless or Eurotunnel breaking down or anything like that. It's a complex issue, with multifaceted, and things have sort of come to a bit of a pinch point. This being one of the busiest days of the year for cross-channel holiday traffic. So obviously a big problem if you're a lorry driver, get stuck in traffic like this.